With the eviction moratorium all over the news lately, here's why millions of Americans are about to lose their homes. Just for a quick little background, the eviction moratorium prevents landlords from removing people from their homes for not being able to pay rent. When this eviction moratorium was first enacted, it was April 2020, which was the beginning of the pandemic, where the unemployment rate was as high as 14.8%. Because of lost wages and lost jobs, millions of Americans weren't able to pay their rent and were forcing possible eviction if they didn't already own their home. Not to mention, putting a bunch of people all together in a homeless shelter probably wouldn't have been the best idea at this time, considering the best line of defense against this virus is social distancing. Despite all economic implications, enacting a temporary eviction moratorium was the best option at this time until Americans could get back to work and the virus started dying down. An important part of the eviction moratorium is that it does not completely forgive the unpaid rent. It just pushes the debt into the future. Once the moratorium ends, the tenants are expected to pay back their rent unless they have some kind of agreement with their landlord. A lot of people don't really understand this part and think that they're just being relieved of their rent until COVID is completely over. COVID restrictions have pretty much all been lifted despite the pandemic still lingering around, yet the unemployment levels are still much higher than they were pre-COVID. This is a combination of a lot of things, from people still writing off unemployment checks to workers just being burnt out, and of course the fear of getting COVID. And by the way, I just made a whole video on this topic that you should definitely go check out after this video, of course, that's titled Why 33% of Millennials Are About to Quit Their Jobs. But anyways, despite COVID restrictions pretty much being all lifted, there's an immense push to extend this eviction moratorium for even longer. The moratorium was supposed to expire just about 11 days ago on July 31st, 2021. In the days leading up to the moratorium about to expire, there was an immense push to extend this eviction moratorium for even longer, with members of the House sleeping on the Congress steps for 3 days straight. Or, well, 3 nights, I guess, straight. Most notably, Cori Bush argued that housing is a human right and she knows what it's like to sleep outside without having a home. And by the 4th day of her protest, apparently it worked, because the Biden administration administered a new extension to this moratorium that would include counties with high COVID-19 cases. This new moratorium extension will last until October 3rd, 2021, but has the potential of getting struck down as it was administered by the Biden administration rather than Congress. Now, many progressives are arguing that Congress should go even further with preventing Americans from having to face a possible eviction with a multi-year eviction moratorium plan. This would mean that tenants wouldn't have to pay their rent for years to come, even if COVID's over, and, well, the landlords couldn't really do anything about it because it's perfectly legal. Others on the right are arguing that this extension is just delaying the United States from getting back to normal, and that there aren't really any restrictions out there that's preventing people from going back to work and making a living. Whichever side you agree with, it's a tough situation because what was originally enacted to help workers who might have just lost their jobs or didn't want to risk getting COVID has now been widely politicized. It's very apparent that the eviction moratorium extension will impact millions of Americans, however. 6 million Americans are at risk of getting evicted if the moratorium were to expire today because of how far behind they are on their rent. Policy failures haven't helped these 6 million Americans either, as some $47 billion in rent aid was authorized by Congress last year in the first COVID relief bill, but as of this June, reportedly, I believe it's less than 10% of it has reached either the tenants or the landlords, which it's meant to be helping. Now, not only is this a mess for the people who can't pay the rent, but the landlords are also in deep water as they're not receiving any income for the properties that they're renting out. Now, eventually the landlord will make all their money back once this moratorium ends and the tenant has to pay back all their missed month's rent. But what if the tenant still doesn't have this money and just goes with getting evicted instead? Now, not only do you have a family who just lost their home, but you also have a landlord who just missed out on over a year's worth of rent. Can you see why this is a complicated issue now? Anyways, I hope you all liked what I had for you today. Hit that subscribe button for more awesome money, personal finance, and social media related content. You're not going to miss it. And until next time, peace out. Woo!